Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Barry. I'm with the Manufacturing Advocacy and Growth Network, also known as Magnet, located here in Cleveland. You heard a little bit about our partnership with NASA earlier. We also have a booth here if you want to learn more about what our organization does. We're basically aimed at helping manufacturers become competitive and grow. It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker this morning, Roger Kilmer, who is the Director of the Manufacturing Extension Partnership of the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which is located at the U.S. Department of Commerce. There is on page 43 of the program a pretty extensive biography of Roger, so I won't recount all of what's in there, but I do want to give you a few highlights. Roger has been with the National Institute of Standards since 1974 and with the Manufacturing Extension Partnership since 1993. He's won extensive awards over the years in his service at the federal level as an advocate for manufacturing. When I asked Roger what he would like me to say about himself in the introduction, he mentioned two things. First, he wanted you all to know that he's an engineer, a mechanical engineer, and he has extensive experience in working with manufacturing technologies and robotics. So I think Roger wanted to clarify that he's more than a bureaucrat. He also understands and knows manufacturing, and I think you'll learn that clearly from his remarks. The other thing he wanted me to emphasize is that it's not about him, it's about the program. And he did want you to know that the Manufacturing Extension Partnership is a $300 million impact program at the federal level. It's a public-private partnership that focuses on leveraging federal support for manufacturing competitiveness. There are over 370 offices of the Manufacturing Extension Partnership around the country, located in all 50 states. In Ohio, the state of Ohio is the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program, and Magnet is one of the major subcontractors for the state in delivering that program. So at one level, Roger represents one of our single largest financial supporters here in Cleveland for the work that we do with manufacturers. I'll just close by reminding those of you who were here yesterday of the comments that we heard from Jack Schron, in which he pointed out that manufacturing is currently all the rage. All of the presidential candidates are talking about how important manufacturing jobs are and how critical it is to make things in this country going forward. This is all wonderful to those of us who are involved in manufacturing, but as Jack noted, the major challenge for us is to make sure that commitment is sustained beyond November 5th, when the election's over and everyone goes back to what they were doing before they decided to run for president. I can assure you that after November 5th, Roger Kilmer will be a voice for manufacturing at the federal level, and he will be carrying the water for us into the future. So it's our pleasure to welcome Roger Kilmer from NIST MEP.
Am I live with a laugh? Good. I'll move these down out of my face. Good. Well, good morning. Thank you, Mary Kay, for inviting me to be able to present here. What I'm going to talk about, as soon as I can figure out if I can operate the clicker, there we go, is a little bit, what Mary Kay had asked me to do was to talk a little bit more detail about what's going on in Washington, D.C. Again, I am part of the federal government. The reason I can still be talking about things after the election is I am a career employee, so I don't have to worry about the election per se. But I can tell you that manufacturing really has risen on the radar screen, and I'll give you some specifics about that. What I'll then also talk about, which is really, I think, the key and the things of interest to you, and that really is how innovation and applying innovation to your company really can help you be more productive, be more competitive, and then talk a little bit about the program I lead, MEP, and how we can really help you. And as Dan mentioned, he is certainly part of our network and would be the person I would direct you to if you've got some other questions or look for some information. The general view of manufacturing, it's not just in Washington, it's really been across the country, has been one very negative, and that is they've looked at the macro data to look at what the number of jobs that have been lost, the number of companies that have either drastically reduced or gone out of business. And so there has been this general view that manufacturing was one of those things that we really didn't need. And it was really based, unfortunately, at looking at things at a very high level. So in my world, and quite frankly, in other academic and policy worlds, they look at the macro data. And so they've looked at things that, how has manufacturing and employment changed? And it has gone down quite dramatically. Now, part of that is not just the employment, but how things are counted in this macro data. In terms of looking at what the total workforce is in manufacturing relative to the rest of industry in the U.S., it certainly, again, has gone down from roughly 30% to 9% over the last 50 years. They also look at what portion of the GDP manufacturing has played, and certainly this graph is a little confusing because it shows some of the other countries, but it does illustrate that for the U.S., we've gone from something like 21% of GDP in manufacturing down to 13% in 2008, while other countries have either remained relatively flat or, in the case of China, have actually increased. The problem with looking at the macro data is you miss a lot of what's really happening underneath. You don't understand the specifics of how manufacturing has changed. And so what it really took was this last recession for people to take a step back and figure out, how are we going to get out of the situation that we're in? You know, what is a path forward to really get the economy stabilized and get the jobs recreated? And so as a result of that, Washington and even many of the states have taken a new look, a more deeper look at manufacturing and what that really means. I'm involved with a group of 15 different organizations that have really put together what they call a charter for manufacturing that they are now presenting into various places within the administration, with other federal agencies, within Congress, really focused on what they call the 4 T's, that being technology, training, trade, and taxes. And really, if you address and approach those things, the importance of those to manufacturing, if you're really trying to get manufacturing to make the recovery that it can in the United States. Certainly, there's lots of congressional interest. I've done many briefings in the last year to different parts of Congress, different committees about manufacturing and how the MEP program can help with those issues. Certainly there's some White House initiatives that have gone on, and I'll talk a little bit about a few of those. But the educational process is certainly not over. Anything you can do with either your state representatives or federal representatives to continue that education process is really critical. You can see, again, one of the folks that I work with, Rob Atkinson from ITIF, has taken a not-so-subtle approach to kind of getting the message across, but sometimes it really is what's required. it's like, hey guys, come on, it's manufacturing, it's been there all the time, you've kind of ignored it, it's time to put it back on your radar screen.